April carries a very different energy than March. Where March asked for reflection and release, April begins to move, to act, to take what we've realized and start living it forward. But before we move into the themes for this month, I want to pause for a moment and acknowledge something that feels really special to me. This channel has been growing, not in a viral overnight kind of way, but in a steady, genuine way. More views, more engagement, more of you showing up and spending time with these videos. And for something that started as a creative offering, something I wasn't entirely sure how it would be received, that means a lot. So truly, thank you for being here, for engaging with this space, and for allowing this to grow into something shared. Welcome back to Libra Rising, where guidance from the stars meets reflections for the soul. As with last month, we'll be focusing on the larger themes shaping April rather than every individual transit. Because this month has a clear movement to it, a progression from awareness into action, and from action into something more grounded and real. Let's step into the main astrological themes shaping this month. April begins with a full moon in Libra, and in many ways, this sets the tone for everything that follows. Libra is the sign of relationship, balance, reciprocity, and reflection. It shows us who we are, not in isolation, but in connection. Coming just after the ignition of Aries season, this full moon brings an important question into focus. How does the version of you that is emerging actually show up in your relationships? You may notice imbalances becoming more visible, places where you've been overextending, places where you've been holding back, or dynamics that no longer feel as aligned as they once did. This isn't necessarily about dramatic endings. It's about clarity, about seeing what's real without immediately trying to fix or force it. Because as the energy of April begins to accelerate, what you see here may shape how you move forward. This full moon asks, where am I still adjusting myself to maintain harmony? And is that adjustment still true for me? As the month unfolds, the energy begins to pick up. With Mars entering Aries, the sign it naturally rules, there's a noticeable increase in drive, urgency, and forward motion. And when Mercury follows into Aries, thoughts and communication begin to move more quickly as well. This combination can feel energizing, motivating, even clarifying, but it can also feel reactive. There's less patience here, less filtering, a tendency to act or speak before fully processing. And yet, this energy is arriving after a month of reflection, after revisiting, after clearing. So while the pace may be faster, it isn't entirely uninformed. There's a sense of knowing what needs to be done, even if the execution isn't perfect. April doesn't ask you to have everything figured out. It asks you to begin moving with what you already know. This energy asks, what am I ready to act on, now that I've seen things more clearly? At the center of the month, we arrive at the new moon in Aries. This is a powerful reset point, but not in a soft or abstract way. Aries is the sign of initiation, of identity, of choosing a direction and stepping into it. And with both Saturn and Neptune now in Aries, this new moon carries a deeper layer. Neptune brings vision, a sense of what could be. But Saturn brings structure and accountability. Together, they ask something more grounded. Not just what do you want to begin, but what are you willing to take responsibility for becoming? This isn't about chasing inspiration for a moment. It's about choosing a path and recognizing that your choices shape what comes next. There may be a sense here of standing at the edge of something new. Not everything will be clear, not everything will feel easy, but there is an opening. And the question becomes whether you're willing to step into it. Not perfectly, but intentionally. Later in the month, we move into one of the more subtle but significant shifts of the year. Uranus enters Gemini. Uranus is the planet of change, disruption, and innovation. And when it changes signs, it often signals the beginning of a new long-term cycle. In Gemini, this shift begins to reshape how we think, how we communicate, and how we connect. On a collective level, this may show up over time as changes in technology, information, and communication systems. But on a personal level, it can feel like something clicking into place or shifting unexpectedly. A new idea, a new perspective, a conversation that changes how you see something. This energy doesn't demand immediate action, but it does open a door. Something new is beginning to take shape, even if you don't fully understand it yet. As we move toward the end of the month, the sun enters Taurus, and the energy begins to settle. After the fire of Aries, the movement, the decisions, the initiation, Taurus brings us back into the body, into the physical world, into what can actually be sustained. Taurus isn't concerned with urgency. It's concerned with consistency, with stability, with building something that lasts. This is where April begins to land, where the question shifts from, what am I starting, to, what can I continue? Not everything that feels exciting will be sustainable, and not everything sustainable will feel exciting at first. But there's an opportunity here to begin rooting into something more steady, something that doesn't require constant effort to maintain. This energy asks, what is real enough to build with, and steady enough to grow over time? Taken together, April carries a clear movement. It begins with awareness, seeing ourselves more clearly through the mirror of relationship. It builds into action as energy returns and momentum increases. It reaches a point of initiation where new paths begin to open. And then, gradually, it asks us to ground that movement into something real. April doesn't ask for perfection, but it does ask for participation, for willingness, for honesty in action, not just reflection. As we move into the tarot portion of this reading, we'll explore how these themes may be experienced on a more personal level, especially if you're navigating both the excitement of movement and the uncertainty of what comes next. Let's begin with the collective spread for April. This reading looks at how April may be moving through us on different levels. Through the mind and ego, the heart and emotional body, the soul and intuitive space, and finally, through the body and instinct. As always, these cards aren't predictions about what will happen. They offer insight into how this month may want to be experienced, where there may be support, where there may be tension, and where something is asking for awareness. And interestingly, this spread carries a strong sense of beginning, but not without adjustment. Not everything feels fully settled yet, but something is clearly taking shape. For the collective tarot this month, I pulled a 4-card elemental spread, looking at how April may move through us on different levels. Mind and ego, emotion and spirit, soul and intuition, and finally, through the body and instinct. There's a noticeable theme here of growth meeting choice, choice meeting uncertainty, and uncertainty asking for steadiness. This doesn't feel like a month of having everything figured out. It feels like a month of learning how to move forward while things are still unfolding. In the fire position, the realm of mind, identity, and ego, we have the Empress. This is an interesting presence in a month that carries so much Aries energy. Where Aries can be fast, initiating, and forward-moving, the Empress invites something softer, but no less powerful. She speaks to growth through care, through nourishment, through creating the conditions for something to develop naturally. In April, this may show up as a shift in how you approach action. Rather than pushing yourself forward through pressure or urgency, you may be asked to support yourself more intentionally, to move in a way that is sustainable rather than reactive. There's a reminder here that not everything needs to be forced in order to grow. Sometimes the most aligned action comes from tending to what is already beginning. The mind may be learning that growth doesn't require strain, only attention. In the water position, emotion and the heart, we have the Lovers. This card carries a strong connection to the Libra Full Moon energy at the beginning of the month. The Lovers is often associated with connection, but more deeply, it speaks to alignment through choice. This may be a time where relationships, of all kinds, come into clearer focus, where something is felt more honestly, where a dynamic is seen more clearly, or where a choice becomes necessary. Not necessarily a dramatic decision, but an internal one. What feels aligned? What feels mutual? What feels true? This isn't just about maintaining connection, it's about choosing it consciously. The heart may be asking not just to feel, but to recognize where it is genuinely invested and where it may be holding on out of habit. In the air position, the realm of soul and intuitive perception, we have the Page of Pentacles reversed. This can speak to something new trying to emerge, but not yet fully grounded. There may be a sense of beginning without clarity, of potential without a clear path. At times, this could feel like hesitation or uncertainty about where to start. At other times, it may feel like overreaching, trying to take on too much too quickly. This energy sits right alongside the new moon in Aries, a powerful point of initiation. But where Aries says begin, this card asks, how do you begin in a way that is realistic? How do you approach something new without overwhelming yourself or avoiding it entirely? There's a learning curve here, a reminder that beginnings don't need to be perfect in order to be valid. The soul may be adjusting its expectations around what it means to start. In the Earth position, the body and instinct, we have the Seven of Wands. This card speaks to holding your ground, to standing in something you've chosen and maintaining that position, even when there is pressure to shift. After the movement of Aries and the choices reflected in the Lovers, this energy feels like a point of stabilization. Not everything around you may feel settled. There may be differing opinions, external input, or moments where it would feel easier to step back or second-guess yourself. But the body, instinctively, knows what it stands for. And this card asks you to remain with that knowing, not rigidly, but steadily. To stay connected to what feels true even as things continue to evolve. Taken together, this spread speaks to a month of active becoming. The mind is learning to grow through care rather than pressure. The heart is being asked to choose what it aligns with. The soul is navigating a beginning that isn't fully defined. And the body is being asked to hold steady in what feels true. There's movement here, but it isn't rushed. There's choice here, but it isn't always simple. And there's growth here, but it asks for participation. April may not provide complete clarity right away, but it does offer something just as important: the opportunity to begin, to choose, and to stand by what feels aligned, even while the path continues to unfold. From this collective foundation, we'll now explore how these themes may show up through the lens of each zodiac sign. Before moving into the 12 signs, I want to briefly share how this section was pulled. As with previous months, I created a small ritual container, setting the intention for clarity, honesty, and grounded guidance, and asked for one card for each sign. These messages aren't predictions. They're points of awareness, reflections of how April's energy may be experienced or navigated. You're welcome to listen for your sun, moon, or rising signs, or move through all 12 if that feels supportive. Let's begin. Libra. April may bring a quiet reassessment of what fulfillment looks like. The 10 of Cups reversed can point to a subtle disconnect between what appears ideal and what actually feels nourishing. This may not be dramatic, but it may be honest. Something about happiness, connection, or emotional alignment may be shifting. The question becomes, is the version of harmony you've been holding on to still true for you? Scorpio. The 9 of Cups reversed suggests a moment of emotional reevaluation. Something you expected to feel fulfilling may not be landing in the way you thought it would. Or perhaps a desire has been met, but it doesn't carry the satisfaction you imagined. This isn't failure, it's clarity. April may invite you to look more deeply at what actually brings you contentment, beyond expectation or appearance. Sagittarius. You receive the Ace of Pentacles. This is a grounded beginning, an opportunity to build something tangible, whether that's in your work, your habits, your health, or your resources. This may feel small at first, but it carries real potential. April supports taking something from idea into form, one step at a time. Capricorn. The 4 of Cups suggests a moment of pause. You may find yourself feeling disengaged or uncertain about what's being offered to you. There may be an opportunity present, but it's not immediately resonating. Rather than forcing a response, this month may ask you to sit with that feeling. Not every yes is aligned, and not every no is final. Clarity may come through stillness. Aquarius. The sun reversed can point to a temporary dimming of clarity or vitality. Something that usually feels bright or certain may feel slightly muted. This doesn't mean the light is gone. It may simply be internal. April may invite you to reconnect with what brings you joy, without needing it to be visible or validated externally. Pisces. You receive the 4 of Swords. This is a card of rest, integration, and recovery. After a period of emotional or mental movement, April may offer or require stillness. This isn't stagnation, it's restoration. You may benefit from stepping back, creating space, and allowing things to settle before moving forward. Aries. Your card is the Queen of Cups. In a month that carries so much Aries energy, this is a powerful counterbalance. Rather than pushing forward through action alone, you may be asked to stay connected to your emotional awareness, to lead with sensitivity, not just drive. This is about emotional intelligence, about allowing intuition and empathy to guide how you move forward. Taurus. The Three of Swords suggests emotional honesty. Something may be surfacing that feels uncomfortable, a disappointment, a truth, or a realization that can't be avoided. This isn't here to destabilize you. It's here to clear something, to bring truth to the surface so that something more aligned can take its place. Be gentle with yourself here. Not everything that hurts is harmful. Gemini. The Page of Swords reversed can point to scattered thoughts or misdirected curiosity. There may be a tendency to overthink, jump to conclusions, or feel mentally restless without clear direction. With so much shifting in communication and perspective this month, this energy asks for discernment. Not every thought needs to be followed. Not every piece of information needs to be acted on. Clarity may come through slowing down your mental pace. Cancer. Justice reversed suggests a need to look honestly at balance and fairness. Something may feel slightly off, internally or externally. This could relate to boundaries, responsibility, or perception. Rather than immediately correcting or reacting, this month may ask you to observe, to notice where something feels misaligned before deciding what to do about it. Clarity comes through awareness first. Leo, the Nine of Pentacles reversed may point to a shift in independence or self-sufficiency. You may be reassessing what it means to feel stable or secure on your own. There could be a desire for more support or a realization that something isn't as sustainable as it once seemed. This isn't a loss of strength, it's an adjustment, a chance to redefine what true stability looks like for you. And Virgo, you receive the Six of Cups. This card can point to memory, nostalgia, or a return to something familiar. There may be something from the past, a feeling, a connection, or a version of yourself that reemerges this month. Not to pull you backward, but to reconnect you with something meaningful. There's a softness here, an invitation to remember what once felt simple or genuine, and to carry that forward in a new way. As always, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. These messages don't define your month. They offer perspective, a way of noticing what may be asking for your attention as April unfolds. Before we close, I want to share a brief reflection. Not from the cards, but from lived experience. From the perspective of a highly sensitive soul, learning how to move through this kind of energy in real time. This month, I've been thinking a lot about what it means to grow into something new, especially when that growth feels both exciting and uncomfortable at the same time. Over the past few weeks, this space has started to expand. More people are finding these videos, engaging with them, and choosing to stay. And while part of me feels so deeply grateful for that, another part of me feels a little unsettled. Not because something is wrong, but because something is changing. As a highly sensitive person, visibility doesn't always feel natural to me. Having a voice, especially in a public space, is something I've had to grow into. And interestingly, a big part of that has come through tools and technologies that not everyone fully understands or agrees with. I've found myself sitting with that tension. On one hand, there are valid questions about how technology is used. how it shapes communication, creativity, and connection. And on the other, there's a very real sense that these tools have allowed me to show up in a way I wasn't able to before. To express, to create, to participate. And maybe the balance isn't in choosing one side or the other. Maybe it's in using what supports you while staying aware, grounded, and intentional in how you use it. At the same time, this month has also highlighted something more personal. The idea that safety, whether emotional, relational, or practical, isn't always something that can be assumed or outsourced. Sometimes it's something that has to be built, quietly, gradually, from within. And that can feel both empowering and lonely. But I think what I'm learning is this: growth doesn't always feel like confidence. Sometimes it feels like uncertainty paired with willingness. A willingness to keep showing up, to keep choosing what feels aligned, even when it's unfamiliar. April feels like that kind of space. Not fully settled, not fully certain, but moving. And maybe that's enough. As we move through April, you don't have to have everything figured out. You don't have to rush clarity just to keep up with the momentum around you. Sometimes growth looks like action, and sometimes it looks like learning how to move in a way that actually supports you. If it feels helpful, you might take a moment to sit with a couple of reflection questions for this month. First, where am I being invited to act? And what would it look like to move forward without rushing or forcing the outcome? And the second, what feels truly aligned for me right now? And am I willing to stand by it, even if it's not fully understood by others? These aren't questions that need immediate answers. They're simply invitations to notice what's beginning to take shape. And if it feels supportive, you might carry this mantra with you through the month. I release fear that growth requires me to push beyond my limits, and hold faith that I can move forward in a way that supports me. Take a breath with that. Let it settle where it needs to. April doesn't ask you to wait. It asks you to begin. Not perfectly, not all at once, but honestly. If you find yourself navigating moments of uncertainty, deciding what to act on, what to hold on to, or what feels truly aligned for you now, you're not doing it wrong. You're participating in the process. Growth doesn't always arrive as clarity. Sometimes it arrives as a choice, and the willingness to stand by it as it unfolds. If this reading resonated with you, feel free to share which message or card stood out most in the comments. I always appreciate hearing how these themes are landing for you. And before we close, as always, may you trust the steps you're ready to take, even if the full path isn't visible yet. May you honor what feels true for you, even as it continues to evolve. And may you move through this month with courage that is steady, grounded, and your own. Thank you for being here and for moving through this season of becoming with such presence. I'll see you in May.